very tall. Our next speaker is Jodi. Jodi's not only the head of our school, but she is also a friend to all the students. She is very kind and always approachable. Please welcome Jodi.
And Will's kids are really cute. We don't normally say things like that. So today we've been discussing the importance of relationship from many different angles. This concept that through relationship, one is at the beginning of self-knowledge. And the mirror relationship, one might see that you are not separate, or that we are not separate. This is not just a philosophical concept. Science backs this up. The Harvard longevity studies spanned over 8 decades, and a meta-analysis of 3 million people show that that connection or relationship, as we've been discussing today, is the number one key factor in individual well-being. Krishnamurti pointed to this connection between relationship and what he referred to as right action. This idea that if one sees oneself as not separate, one will naturally do what is right. This connection between our emphasis on relationship and right action was brought into clear focus for me recently as we are preparing for our reaccreditation next year. Oak Grove has a dual accreditation with the Western Association of Colleges and Schools and Colleges, WASC, and as well as the California Association of Independent Schools, CAIS. If you don't already know how that works, an independent school through an in-depth self-study is granted 1, 3, or 7-year accreditation status. This process begins with a 12-month research study that includes 16 different chapters covering all aspects of the school, from the physical plant to hiring practices to curriculum. This is an amazing process that assists the school to review itself in terms of what we say we're doing against what we're actually doing. Talk about mirrors. Even though 7 years is the longest accreditation a school can get through WASC-CIS, Oak Grove is in our 8th year. We were supposed to be up last year, but on a glorious Saturday morning, as I was sitting in my kitchen responding to emails, in pops an email from CAIS Accreditation Director Mariana Robles. The email explained that there were so many schools up for accreditation, and because Oak Grove was in good standing, would we possibly consider doing one more year? This was the quickest email I've ever written in my life. Within a couple minutes, Mariana writes back and says, "Wow, that was fast. Thank you for your help." So this January, we kicked off our self-study, which includes 93 committee members, many are in this room, and a 12-month timeline. The self-study has 85 questions to be answered along with oodles of evidence, like financial data, enrollment and retention numbers, proof of best practices, like parent handbook, emergency procedures, hiring, teacher guidelines, on and on and on and on. One of the questions in the education program asks, taking into account the future world in which the school anticipates that its students will be living, describe how the curriculum is informed by this vision. Already, the written response to this question is several paragraphs long. Research strongly suggests that the current employers and world leaders are looking for people who can solve complex problems with the ability to negotiate on a global level, often through conflicting cultural, social, and political ideology. People must have the ability to synthesize discordant ideas because the world's interdependence is rapidly narrowing, and these skills cannot be done by a computer. Our academic program emphasizes creative thinking to solve problems, the ability to collaborate with others, which requires clear communication, flexibility, cultural sensitivity, and deep listening skills. Throughout Oak Grove's curricular and co-curricular programs, which are outlined in the Arts of Living and Learning, we incorporate a climate of inquiry, self-reflection, understanding through relationship, attention, metacognition, citizenship, and environmental stewardship. The truth is, however, that Oak Grove is not focused on simply preparing our students for this future world. We are honoring our children for the world they are living in now. Yet perhaps even more importantly, we are preparing these students to change that world for the better, and not just for humans, but for all of the world's inhabitants. We already see this with our alums, like the ones highlighted in today's program, Mesa, Mary, Jay, Amy, and of course, Nico. Krishnamurti once said, "A school through its students should bring a blessing to the world." This is a radical idea, and Oak Grove is a radical school. Aristotle talks about living a eudaimonic life, which is living a life of virtue and excellence, living your highest self. This might be similar to what Krishnamurti referred to as flowering in goodness. What is most significant about this concept is living this way is a benefit to others, and therefore a benefit to self and a benefit to others, and therefore initiates an endless cycle of reciprocity. In many ways, this concept, living this way, one is bringing a blessing to the world and therefore receiving that blessing. Carol asked us, how has this school influenced your life, and what would you be like without Oak Grove? Will asked, how has Oak Grove led you to consider and question your own ways of thinking and your behavior? Today, I'm asking you to support the growth and strengthening of this small but radical school. I don't have to outline for you how difficult it is to maintain and afford a school that has nearly 1 acre per student, or to sufficiently compensate our highly skilled staff, or to provide for the ongoing and increased financial aid for the number of requests that we receive. Your generosity today will amplify and strengthen what we are able to provide our students now, today, but also will undoubtedly support our students to transform the world that we will all inhabit someday. Thank you.